KBDFans has been one of the key players in the mechanical keyboard scene. The KBD67 Lite was my first custom mechanical keyboard. I got it during the time where we did not have much options under the sub $200 category. The KBD67 Lite was and still is a good mechanical keyboard. In fact, I have a lot of reviews and modding guide on that keyboard, which I loved so much. Luckily, during the past year or so, the community has been blessed with a lot of other options to suit our preference and, more importantly, our budget. The likes of the GMMK Pro, Iki Aurora, Ako ACR Pro, Ako Mod, and the Keychron Q series keyboards came about, which, in my opinion, totally revolutionized the playing field, making affordable, premium level keyboards accessible to more people. In the past few months, I really felt that KBDFans was lagging behind. They didn't have any releases that really excited me until this. This is the Tiger 80. An all-aluminum TKL mechanical keyboard from KBDFans. Today, we feature a full review of this beast, pun intended, okay, of this beast of a keyboard. So hop right in and join me as I show you how to build this keyboard, throw in a lot of different sound tests and switches, and share my overall thoughts on this amazing mechanical keyboard. Before we begin, a lot of the viewers on this channel is not yet subscribed. If you like the content, like and subscribe and help me grow my channel more, alright? Now that's out of the way, let's get back to business. After more than a week of using this keyboard daily, I'll share my detailed thoughts. Let's start with the things that I do not like about this keyboard. This beast is really good. That I only have 3 main points against it. My main gripe about this keyboard is the sound of the alpha keys. Don't get me wrong, the board sounds great. It sounds premium. It's just that for some reason, I feel that the alpha keys sound a bit dull and muted compared to the modifier keys. Alright, is that clear? It sounds good, but I think there is a huge gap between the sound of the alphas and the modifier keys, which I find really bothersome. I've tried modding and playing around with different configurations to no avail. This being said, I find that for the Tiger 80, louder switches fit this board better. The likes of the Zaku's and the Starry Linear switches. Again, personal preference. The second thing that I do not like is their pricing. This keyboard, although really throws a punch in terms of value, is somewhat priced rather awkwardly, in my opinion. Alright? It's not as expensive as the Mr. Suit. You'd have to splurge a lot more money to get the Mr. Suit, and yet it's not as cheap as one would hope it to be. The kit in Philippine peso ranges anywhere from 13,000 pesos to 15,000 pesos, depending on the color scheme that you will choose. That is beyond the $200 price point and less than the more premium $450 to $500 playing field. I think this is not a good move because there are a lot of good competitors in the sub $200 price range, such as the Aquamod, the Gateron Q series, and of course we have the QK65. So there you have it. For me, I don't think that's a really good move for the Tiger 80. It caters to a very specific group of people aiming for that mid-range price range who wants a full aluminum TKL keyboard. If you do want value, do watch out for the Tiger 80 Lite, because I think that keyboard will offer a huge lot more value compared to the Tiger 80 aluminum. Lastly, it's the aluminum case. Although solid and the finish is really nice, I find that it lacks heft, and somehow it has a little bit of hollowness and ping into it. Not a biggie, it's very easy to fix, and I will show that to you in the modding guide. It's just that I was really surprised when I received the package because it was really lighter than expected. The Gateron Q1 and the Q2, which I've had and reviewed, those keyboards are a lot more solid and hefty compared to this one. Now let's go to the good side. Boy, there's a lot, and I'm sure that a lot of reviewers have already talked about this, so I will go with this quickly. The typing feel of this keyboard is absolutely joyful. It's super soft and bouncy, the bounciest that I have tried thus far. Thanks to the gasket socks that are so thick, this is the first keyboard that I had to mod to reduce some of those flex and bounciness. That's crazy, right? But I mean, that's good because it's really easy to reduce flex. It's harder to add flex to a keyboard that is very stiff. In terms of typing feel, I would give this experience an 8 out of 10. Really, really close to the Mr. Suit. While I said that the alpha sound is a weak spot, the overall sound of the keyboard is really amazing. I find that this keyboard is very versatile, offering different sound profile depending on the configuration. Fix the hollowness with the force break mod and some lower case foam plus or minus polyfill and you're good to go. I love that they went with the EVA PCB foam instead of the usual PE foam. This sound is more decent for my opinion. It's not your typical marbly PE foam sound. So it's not that tiring compared to the typical PE foam. So I love that. Alright? The build is pretty straightforward. That is a good thing, especially for beginners. The stabilizers are really good. The wires are balanced. There are no unbalanced wires. Just some lubing and you're good to go. And for me, that is very important because I hate tuning stabilizers. So out of the box, just lube them, good to go. South-facing, down-firing LED, PCB flex cuts, VIA compatible, daughter board, the list goes on. This keyboard provides what is expected of a good custom mechanical keyboard in 2022. I only have some improvements that I would like for the next versions of this keyboard. Probably KBDFans, if you could hear me out. I would love to have more plate options to customize the sound and the type feel. And I would want to have thicker casing material or maybe a bottom weight to add heft and improve the overall acoustics of this keyboard. Just that. Alright? The build of the keyboard is pretty straightforward as I mentioned. So let's go to the build guide. So here's the checklist, the PCB. Then we have here the tape, which is very cute, the plate, the foam, plate foam, cable, rubber feet, gaskets, the shims, the tools, and the stabilizers. So the first thing that I placed were the rubber feet. So it's just a sticker, you have to stick it on the bottom of the case. The stabilizers are straightforward. You have to clip the legs. The wires are balanced, which is really good. And just lube them up. That's simple. No magic needed. Just remember to use the shims. I tried to build it without the shims and it doesn't work. You have to put the shims under the PCB and not under the stabilizers. Take note of that. So after that, you place the PE foam. It's actually an EVA PCB foam. And again, like what I do to most of my foams, I cut out the strips for the stabilizers because I find it easier that way instead of removing the stabilizers from time to time. With this, I can simply put and remove the PE foam or the PCB foam at will, depending if I want to use it with or without that sheet of foam. Makes life very easy. All right, and then the plate foam, and then after that you put in the plate itself. Do take note there are no standoffs, because who needs standoffs, right? And then you put the switches. Next up, you put the tape mod, which is really cute, and mind you, you can customize this to have your own photo design printed on the tape. I do find it a little bit thin, but it's okay. Right, next up we have the gaskets. These are really thick gaskets. The thickest I have tried so far, really thick. So no orientation, just put them around, and after putting them all around, this is what it should look like. See how thick that boy is, really thick. All right, now time to work with the case. You open up the case by removing 8 screws on the bottom case. Nothing special. They have their own screwdriver provided in the kit, but you can use your own. It's a H6 screwdriver. And then you have some extra screws for the daughter board. Please do not forget the daughter board, as I did here. So I was so shocked that it wasn't working, but looking back, I forgot to place my daughter board. So stupid, right? Don't be like me. And that's it. Nothing fancy, very straightforward. Beginners can do this. Really wonderful build experience. So there you have it. Stock sound is really decent, though I hear some hollowness and some pinging. Very minimal. Not a lot of people might even perceive it, and not a lot of people might even be bothered by it. However, I hear it, so I modded this keyboard nonetheless to show you how I eliminated that ping and hollowness. So, quick modding guide, nothing special. It's the force break mod. We all know this by now. I like to overdo my force break mod and do it all around the keyboard, right? And then an EVA foam from Squishy Types. I will link it in the description to remove some more of the hollowness. And basically, that's it. I've tried a lot of configurations, and here's the summary of my findings, and I hope you find it useful. The configurations that I played with were Polyfill alone, Polyfill plus lowercase foam, 2 Tempest tape mode alone, and no foams at all. In all of these configurations, I think the force break mod was necessary. Alright? So Polyfill alone was okay, although I had to place a lot of polyfill to eliminate the hollowness. The thickness then reduced the bounce more than I wanted it. So the same is true can be said with the lowercase foam plus the polyfill. They sounded good, but they reduced the bounce more than I wanted it to. So I didn't go with that configuration. Alright? 2 Tempest tape mod had a lot of bounce, but there are still some levels of hollowness that can be perceived. That's why I also felt that it was lacking. But again, these are all personal preference. No foams at all sounded nice and felt nice at the expense of some hollowness. Some might find it bothersome, but I think it's okay. And I think that this keyboard can do well without any foams in it. Not the best sounding raw keyboard, but it's okay. So to date, here is my favorite configuration. It's with all of the foams, a lower EVA case foam that I got from Squishy Types, force break mod, additional tape mod, as I felt that the tape that came with this, although it's a very good and cute gimmick, I felt that it was too thin, so I added an additional layer of Tempest tape, the Starry Linear switches by Designer Studios, and EPBT white on black keycaps. This is my favorite combo because the mod eliminated the hollowness and made the board really lively while still retaining the very soft and bouncy typing experience. Do check out the sound test. So there you have it. That's my favorite configuration of the Tiger 80. So with all this being said, how does this keyboard stack up with the other keyboards that I've tried so far? I want to compare the Tiger 80 with the Keychron Q series, the ACO Mod 007 V2, the QK65, and in the lower end of the budget, we have the ACO ACR Pro series. Alright, so at the pricing standpoint, the Tiger 80 is the most expensive, followed by the QK65, then your Keychron Q series, your ACO Mod, about the same price with the Q series, and lastly the ACR Pro, the cheapest among the group. For acoustics, my top pick would be the QK65, followed by the Keychron Q series, then the Tiger 80, and lastly the ACR Pro. So as you would have guessed, I have a preference for aluminum keyboards. For typing feel, it would be the Tiger 80 on top of the list, the ACO ACR Pro coming in close second. That keyboard has a really good typing feel. Then the QK65, and lastly the Keychron Q series. Again, all of these are personal ratings. Feel free to agree or disagree. Finally, if I were to keep only one keyboard among the choices, which will I keep? It's easy, the QK65, hands down, no doubt. Alright? So, in summary, the Tiger 80, it's a really good keyboard, especially for those who are willing to spend a considerable amount on their mid-tier playing field. Typing experience is top-notch, soft and bouncy. It comes second only to the Mr. Suit among my collection. This keyboard, however, is not my favorite on the acoustic department. Again, don't get me wrong, it sounds good stock. It sounds amazing once modified. It's simply not my favorite. I would choose the Keychron Q series and the QK65 over the Tiger 80 when we're talking about acoustics alone. The Tiger 80 Lite might be a better value keyboard, and it's coming up soon on the channel, so do stay tuned for that. KBDFans really stepped up their game on the Tiger 80, and it's safe to say that the hype on this keyboard is real. It delivers. The more I use it and play around with the configurations, the more this keyboard grows on me. It's a good recommendation for those into the hobby already, wanting to get their hands on a really premium feeling and sounding TKL aluminum keyboard without crossing that 20,000 pesos or $400 price point. Thank you for watching and supporting this channel. Really appreciate the sub, help this channel grow. Stay tuned as I have a lot in store for you. We have the Starry Switch full review, the budget Alice keyboard from Fecker, lots more. I hope to see you in the next video.